Well, hello. It's been a wee while. I've been trying to get this video done for a few weeks now, but back at work doing 12 to 16-hour days for weeks on end, hence the tired face. But finally, I've got around to doing it. So whilst I'd very much like my farewell video to be all soft and fluffy, I'm afraid it's not. It's a bit of a turd sandwich. We've got some quite challenging topics in the middle of it, but we'll try and at least make the beginning an end. Nothing if not entertaining. And because I've left it so long making this video, we've got loads to get through. There's going to be updates on the Sudbury car parking situation. The terrible goings on in Teignbridge have continued. Karina has had a response to her letter from Dear Mr. Weavers. Councillor King has actually retracted something that he got wrong, though not to any of us, but never mind. There's a roundup of various council watches that have started up, and some you already know. Now, you may remember dear Councillor Rosie Dawson, who seemed to cause quite a stir amongst you.
What's the breach that
You've misquoted the law. You've misquoted the Equality Act of 2010.
I have it here, and it's not in the rules, so I'm not accepting your point of order.
Chair, let me finish.
So I'm coming to Councillor Nutley.
And even though there were multiple complaints about Councillor Dawson's behaviour during that meeting, the council decided that she'd done nothing wrong. Shocker, I know. I know in the Trans, Tourette's and Tyrants video, I asked the question, was she the worst woke councillor in the world? Well, turns out she's not. Yes, they have far worse. So bad, they put Councillor Dawson in a good light. I kid you not.
The fact is, this council is not acting lawfully.
We are acting lawfully.
You are not acting lawfully. That is on the
Councillor
guidance.
Taylor, I'm terribly sorry, but
Mr.
you will
Woodhead.
not be heard further.
I have got guidance here from
and
King's Council, which will say that.
I don't know what you're feeding your councillors in that neck of the woods, but anyway, we'll get to that. But first, children, are you sitting comfortably? Because today we're going to learn how the grown-ups deal with the public, when they're not doing as they are told. Your teacher for this lesson is called Izzy, and she's going to try very hard not to get in a tizzy when dealing with particularly willful members of the public who absolutely refuse to do as they are told. And she will do so with all due respect.
I am requesting that you film from there, please. The policies say that an area is set aside for people who wish to film so that they can do, and we are inviting you to film from there.
Okay, and if we refuse?
If we refuse, we will ask you a bit more strongly. We will ask you why you're refusing.
Because we're quite comfortable here.
Yes, but that's not the place where filming is designated. And, you can say what you like, but I would rather you film from over there. With due respect, please.
I think I would prefer to film from here.
Well, if you film from here, you are filming people who should not be filmed.
Well,
Me, the employee, my proper officer. Okay, and you cannot film her.
I cannot leave. I'm the one that takes the minutes.
well, somebody else can take them.
No. The proper, as an employee, she has the right to decline to be filmed. As the proper officer and responsible finance officer, I need her for advice in this meeting. You cannot film her. That is the law. So, if you'd like to move over there and film as before, then that's fine. That is the law. Are you going to move or not? Okay.
Are the councillors employees?
The councillors are not to be filmed in compliance with our filming policies.
Which is?
There's a copy of the government, UK government legislation there. If you'd like to read it, I printed it off for perusal.
No.
You need to put screeners in. You cannot touch my equipment.
Okay.
You cannot touch my equipment.
If we put...
You're interfering with the press now.
Oh, you're the citizen press now, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So there we go, children. A great lesson to us all. You must never try to touch another person's equipment without their explicit consent. Now, this particular saga did rumble on for quite some time, so we'll leave them to it and come back in a little while. In the meantime, let's go over to Winchester to see how Dave Brocklis got on. Now, he doesn't have an official Council Watch channel, but he has still gone in nonetheless.
As the local plan is built around the climate emergency, has the Council calculated the impact of the measures to mitigate the climate emergency on the climate? i.e. how much change in global temperature in degrees C will the adoption of the Winchester local plan have? If this calculation has not been carried out, why not? Also, has the Council carried out a financial impact assessment to include the impact of the measures to mitigate the climate emergency within the plan on the short and long-term finances of individuals, households and local businesses? If this financial impact has been carried out, please explain where this can be found. If it has not been carried out, why not?
As you indicate, the draft local plan contains significant policies that tackle the climate emergency, which have both carbon and monetary impacts.
Now, there was quite a lengthy word salad response to his inquiries, so to spare you that, we'll just cut to the chase.
So it seems the answer is no then. There has been no specific impact assessment on the costs to individuals, finances and households, and there's been no impact assessment on the impact on the climate. So I'm assuming there's zero impact on the climate because you have no impact assessment to say otherwise, which begs the question, why are any additional costs going to households, businesses and individuals?
So, as you know, sadly, the people of Colchester are still under enormous threat of the
climate emergency,
as are the people of Winchester, as we've just seen with Dave Brocklis. But there is some good news. Thankfully, the people of Richmond can mark themselves safe from the
climate emergency.
Let me pass you over to Martin Baker of Richmond Council Watch.
I note that the climate emergency strategy has quietly had a rebrand over the summer, is now called the Climate and Nature Strategy. This is fascinating because the scare tactic word emergency has been removed and the warm and fluffy word nature has been added, which appeals to everyone, of course. In particular, local resident David Attenborough, who I'm sure will offer a supportive comment if the council asks him nicely.
He's still working on that video, so that's just a teaser clip of what's coming soon. Now, he's been doing some excellent reporting on some very bizarre things that are going on around Richmond, so do check out that channel. They've also been busy over at Eastbourne Council Watch and Liverpool. So Hillingdon Council Watch is a fairly new one, and they've got a couple of excellent videos, which I recommend you view. So council watches in one form or another are happening up and down the country, and they need to. But if there's one thing that we have learned for sure in the last 2 years of us doing this, because believe it or not, our very first trip to Colchester Council was January 2023.
We didn't measure the demographics. We talked to all kinds of people, young and old. It was a whole range of people.
So you're telling me that 80-year-olds want to get on a bicycle?
Doesn't time fly when you're really not having fun? Anyway, the one thing we have definitely learned is you don't appear to be able to get through to these councils. They are set on a particular course and agenda, and it doesn't matter how much facts, data and logic you present them, you cannot get them off course. So the conclusion we've come to is they must go. Whether we want to or not, we are all going to have to get up and run as councillors. Now, you'll notice the cunning devolution plan that Labour and the previous government were putting into place, but it's really picking up speed now. So there probably won't be any 2025 elections. But as soon as there are, people need to be ready and motivated and get in there. It's the only way we are going to take this country back from the absolute crazy that it is gripped with. And if you want a way to explain what is happening to councillors, a very good video to send them is by Richard Jeffs of the Yellow Forum, and it's called Stakeholder Capitalism. Now, it sounds a very dry title, but it really is important that everybody understands exactly what this is and send it on to their councillors, because the combined either naivety or stupidity and all of the steering from the officers is not a good combination. So we're going to head back to Teignbridge now, where Councillor Jane Taylor is doing a valiant effort to get them to reassess the decision that officers made to allow men into women-only facilities. And look what she's up against, a councillor that makes Councillor Rosie Dawson look polite.
What officers have signed off is that we have now opened up single-sex spaces to the opposite sex, and I'm going to talk specifically about women's and girls' spaces. Don't stop me, please, Chair, because this is very important.
I know,
shall
Councillor
continue
Taylor,
to speak.
I'm really sorry,
What you need
but
to know
we
is
have,
that this
may I
affects
speak,
women and
Councillor
girls.
Taylor?
For instance, upstairs in the showers here at Teignbridge, this policy
you
allows
are
men to go into
about
those.
It, but I would
it's not
ask
about
you to
passion
respect the
about
chair.
this.
I
It's
would
about
ask you to respect
lawfulness.
the chair.
The fact is, this council is not acting lawfully.
We
at
are
all.
acting lawfully.
You are not acting lawfully. That is on the
Councillor
guidance
Taylor, I'm terribly
of
sorry, but
Mr.
you will
Woodhead.
not be heard further.
I have got guidance here from
and
King's Council, which will say that you are not acting lawfully at this moment.
We are acting
I
lawfully,
don't believe that you
Councillor
are.
Taylor, and
we
we have
need
taken
to take action now. Not once again,
independent
Chair,
counsel
shut
to
down
confirm
somebody
that.
who
So
wants
I'm
to
sorry.
say something
The
about
details
this council.
are in the
You're
agenda.
not acting
Your
lawfully at the
entire
moment.
notice
You're
of
allowing
motion
men
is
into women-only spaces. You're allowing men to shower in front of young girls.
As we
that
have
is
said,
not lawful.
it is too
that is not
broad
acceptable
for the skill set
and it needs
of this
dealing
committee,
with as a
Councillor
matter
Taylor.
of urgency.
And I would
not
like
as a matter
to
of being put
ask
on the back
committee
burner
if they have
in
any
relation
comments,
to
and
that.
I will be closing this meeting
committee needs to
forthwith.
understand
Councillor
what's happening in
Bullivant,
this
if
council.
you can make yourself heard, as we are not being respected.
No, I don't think I'm being respected.
Councillor
actually,
Bullivant
Chair.
has the chair. Thank you.
Women and girls in Teignbridge are not being respected
fully appreciate
by this
your
council.
passion, Councillor.
No, it's not about passion, it's about safety. It's about
We
safeguarding.
appreciate everything
and
that
this
you put
council
forward.
will
It will be
responsible
acknowledged, but
for
we have
any
to get a
incident
decision
of
on its
safeguarding.
priority
And if
now.
any women and girls are assaulted,
Can
it'll
I
be down to
propose,
you.
this is an important issue. We should allocate some time to be able to discuss it properly and take advantage of any advice that we can get. For that reason, I'd give it a high priority within our schedule of work.
And I second that.
So at least at local level, they have decided to review this urgently. And well done, Councillor Taylor, for her perseverance getting this through, and well done for the councillors that backed her up. Then things got notched up a gear when the ladies went to Devon District Council. Now, trigger warning for this next section, because we are going to be discussing sexual assault. But before we get to that, let's look at what the ladies had to battle with this time at district level.
You answered that you will not consider the CAS report. I sent this report because it stated the importance of what goes on in schools cannot be underestimated. The transitioning of children does not start in hospital, it starts in schools. I have researched the situation in all schools in Devon. I have seen the male teachers in dresses, organisations grooming children to believe in this ideology in lunchtime, LGBTQ groups. I've read the policies in schools where breast binders and packers are enabled. I have met parents devastated by this. Mixed sex facilities encouraged.
Does this type of representation stoking up prejudice is this not in breach of the council's code of conduct?
There is no prejudice in talking about the rights of children.
You are entitled to one supplementary question.
And I'm asking my question,
Right.
and I have 3 minutes to ask
no,
my
you have a
question.
question.
I have the question now.
Right. Just a question, please.
Could I have the name of the person who stand up and said I was being prejudiced?
Mr. Chairman, I'm Councillor Rob Hannaford, and I'm not going to sit here. and
Sorry, what's your name again?
Your transphobia in this chamber unchallenged, madam.
Sorry, what's your name again?
Stop.
Rob Hannaford.
Hold it. I'm the chairman here. Sit down, Rob. Lady, ma'am, you finish your question by all means.
Okay. Mixed sex facilities encouraged, leading to sexual assaults. Children are being disciplined for misgendering other pupils.
Question. Where is your
if
question?
you are denying the council
Where
has
is
any
your-
responsibility for the things I have seen happened
Can
in
we knock it out?
schools, Councillor Ledbetter.
Right. I now have question 3 from Jenny Dingsdale, and it's on a similar line. Can I please have a question, not a statement, and the answers you have been given?
Yeah, I feel like my original question, Councillor Ledbetter doesn't seem to have understood or accepted the points I was trying to make to him. So I just want to emphasise, last week, a case was heard in the Supreme Court to decide what a woman is. Whichever way the judges rule, this is a huge step to the inevitable repeal of the GRA, because it is a law.
Technically, that is not a question, that's a statement.
Can you just let me finish, please? It's a law which provides a legal fiction, and it really does obliterate safeguarding. Humans cannot change sex. Males have a different reproductive role to females, so they have different sexual behaviours and safeguarding needs.
This is not the object of today's session here. Can we turn the mic off again, please?
I'm going to ask my question. I'm not going to have this snatched off of me.
Councillor Ledbetter, I don't think there was a question there either, but any comment you want to add?
You didn't hear a question, Councillor Hart? That wouldn't be because you got her microphone shut off by any chance, would it? And then your colleagues snatched the microphone from her. In fact, a bit more than that. Two ladies from the floor tried to snatch the microphone from her. She fell backwards onto her seat, and the security guard grabbed her wrist from behind and pulled her arm backwards to take it off her. She has reported this incident to the police, but apparently there's no footage. They don't dispute what happened and feel it was appropriate. So the police are not taking it any further.
Public, sadistic, predatory men are refusing.
I'm sorry. This is not the format for that kind of question in relation to the question you have already submitted and you've had an answer to it. Please, will you sit down?
You're not, Chairman, through you. These speakers are not going to help their cause by saying what they're saying, okay?
Yeah.
You're not having a meaningful conversation with it. I've already said we take safeguarding very, very seriously in this council. I take safeguarding very seriously. All the councillors take it very, very seriously.
Councillor Ledbetter, you think that's a cause? Surely it is a basic function of any civilised society to have women and girls safe. Though I'm very pleased to hear that you take it seriously, as does the council. What a relief that is. Now, before you start making this all about transphobia, it's not. This is a simple biological fact. Men are stronger than women. And there are men who are jumping onto the trans bandwagon because it gives them a fantastic excuse and access to their victims. So my question to you is, have you really thought this through from the female perspective? Because I would imagine it would be difficult for a gentleman of your stature, 6 foot something, quite a strapping build, to imagine what it could possibly be like to be female in a petite build with nowhere near the level of strength that you have. So to help give you a little bit of perspective on this, here's what AI has to say about the difference in strength between men and women. On average, men are significantly stronger than women in terms of physical strength, with the differences varying by body part. Upper body strength. Men have about 40 to 60% more upper body strength than women. Lower body strength. The difference is less pronounced, with men having approximately 25 to 33% more strength. Grip strength. Men have around 41 to 57% more grip strength. In terms of punch power, men have been found to have 162% more force, indicating men are about 2.6 times more powerful in punching compared to women. Imagine, if you will, Councillor Ledbetter and any other man who feels that there isn't a problem with men in women's facilities. So to help you visualise what that would be like, picture yourself with this gentleman in a confined space, and he's decided he wants his way with you, and there is no way you have the physical strength to stop him. Can you imagine what that situation would be like? Now, I know nothing about you, Councillor Ledbetter, but if this gentleman is your type, then do choose another one that definitely wouldn't want to be violated by. So if you've imagined that vividly enough, that gives you a small amount of perspective of why women do not want men in their facilities. Now, the trans people I've known in my life would not harm anybody. In fact, the complete reverse. They are people who have suffered a tremendous amount of pain. I've known people that have felt their entire life since they were like 5 or 6 years old that they were in the wrong body. And just imagine for a moment what that must be like, tormented night and day, repulsed by their own body, repulsed by those of their own gender. Now, this was 20 and 15 years ago when, I just take people as I find them. These days, I would wonder if there's been sexual abuse, because there is a growing trend of people having trans surgery to get rid of the genitalia that they had when they were abused. I mean, it is a brutal amount of surgery, and having listened to it in depth, what they have to go through, the pain, the trauma and the suffering and the recovery. For the trans people that I have known wouldn't harm anybody, and all they are trying to do with the surgery is get out of the pain and anguish that they are feeling mentally. Now, you can argue about that all day long, and certainly when I knew these people 10, 15 years ago, no one had any issue with them going into the female toilets, because there's just no way they could have gone into the men's toilets. There was just no issue with it. But it's not the trans people that are causing the problem. It's the fetishists that are pretending that they are trans to gain access to women and girls. That is the problem.
And just in case you didn't see my first video on the subject, Councillor Ledbetter, I'll just play you a quick clip because there's some important things you need to know.
And she says, when I was a rookie in 2007, there was a clear understanding that cross-dressing men in women's spaces were often there for sexual reasons. When I started working in sex crimes in 2015, it was still understood that cross-dressers did it for sexual reasons, and common knowledge that transvestic fetishism is often found in men who display other predatory sexual behaviours. I would also estimate that roughly 50% of the hard drives containing child sex abuse material that I had to go through in my time there also contained images or video of the hard drive's male owner dressed in women's or adult-sized toddler infant clothing of some kind. Now, I do want to acknowledge, I know most men are not rapists. In fact, that's part of the reason why men tend to dismiss women's concerns over this, because they themselves wouldn't do it, so they therefore think the problem doesn't exist. Well, for those of you that think like that, let's give you some stats.
In England and Wales, 85,000 women report being raped. But many cases go unreported, so I asked AI to do a calculation to estimate a more realistic figure. And it came up with a crime survey of England and Wales, which states they reckon about 15% get reported. So from that, AI calculated that there were over 646,000 rapes. Now, approximately 80,000 of those were men. So taking those out, over 566,000 women are raped every year in England and Wales. But some councillors don't seem to be interested in knowing this, do they?
I'm sorry.
So what's the conviction rate for all these rapists? Well, in a good year, it's 2%, but in a bad year, it can be less than 1%. And approximately 21% of these violent rapists, it turns into homicide.
I'm sorry.
Now, for those of you thinking that it's a case of men just not being able to control themselves, the rapes occur for power and control, anger and hostility.
Impulse control obviously can be one of the reasons. And also psychopaths. Well, the world certainly isn't short of those at the moment, is it?
Gender inequality, normalisation of violence, among many other reasons. And you object to women raising their concerns over this.
I'm sorry.
Now here's a small selection of the types of photos people are putting online of themselves. Now, yes, Dame Katie's account is indeed a parody account, but nonetheless, these people are telling us they are women. I'm not saying for 1 minute that any of these people would harm women or children. I've no idea. And that's the thing. We don't know who would and who wouldn't. But yet we have to accept anybody who claims to be a woman into female spaces where there are women and children who would not be able to defend themselves should an attacker attack. That is the problem.
So, Councillor Ledbetter and all those that are like you, you may believe what you are doing is honourable and valiant, protecting the rights of those minority individuals, because that's what your DEI training has told you. I'm afraid, judging by previous comments on videos, that isn't how the general public see you. Some people will think you are intensely stupid and not using the brain you were born with if you really believe that allowing men to just claim that they are women so that they can get access to facilities with women and girls in isn't going to be a problem. Then I think I'd probably agree with those people. Others will view you as misogynists. But then there's a large percentage of the population that will assume that you too like to put on women's underwear, and that is why you are supporting this, or worse, that you're a paedophile. That tends to be what people think about people that support men being allowed to claim they are women and that they are victims if women don't agree with them. But do read in the comments what people have to say about you. I suspect it'll be something along the lines of, could do better, Ledbetter. Well, that's the polite summary of it anyway. Now, you might think you're being ever so heroic by challenging transphobia, but that's not what you are doing. You are aiding and abetting fetishists. That is what you are doing. That's the reality of it. You are also aiding and abetting the institutional grooming of children. So when you have your meeting with Jenny Dingsdale, you really do need to listen to what she says. Because I know 3 lots of parents whose children were groomed to be trans. 2 of them managed to recover their children. 1 didn't and has gone through the surgery. And what they're doing is they're working on the ones that are perhaps questioning their sexuality, the ones that perhaps weren't the most popular kids in school, the ones with learning difficulties. They're the ones being targeted. They've been the outcasts at school. And all of a sudden, they're being told, well, you might be trans, you might be in the wrong body. And then suddenly they're getting all this attention. Suddenly they're popular. Suddenly they're told how brave and strong they are. And they're the talk of the class. All this attention, adults are telling them they're in the wrong body. Influencers are influencing them. Now, counsellors, AI is not infallible, so I suggest you do your own research and find out the numbers for yourself. While you're at it, you could also research the number of drag queen story hour acts that are convicted paedophiles. Also take a look at the sexual education literature that is being delivered to children as young as 4 and 5. And if you really want the public to believe that you take safeguarding seriously, might I recommend that when members of the public come in to tell you about it, that you don't yell at them.
Oh, shut up. Oh, I'm sorry.
You actually let them speak and you listen to what they say instead of trying to shut them up because you find the topic unpalatable. Because men with a good moral compass are supporting us. Because you do need to look a lot further than your DEI training. Because the push for trans isn't just affecting women and girls, it's affecting boys too. It is the duty of every single one of us to protect the children. So stop denying basic biology to suit your ideology. One thing you definitely need to research is the long-term health detriments that trans surgery and all the drugs they have to be on for life afterwards, the effects those have on the body. How can a child with not a fully developed brain possibly make a decision like this to remove healthy, functioning body parts because of ideology? They're at a very vulnerable age and easily influenced. It's one thing for an adult to decide to do this. It's quite another for young, impressionable children, isn't it? So I do hope you found this conversation meaningful, Councillor Ledbetter. And perhaps you could explain to your colleagues that they are in public service. They are not hooligans at a football match. The jeering needs to stop.
And I will link to the Battle of Devon video below that shows all of the battles the ladies have had to endure so far at the council.
So I do want to acknowledge the courage and bravery of the women and men who are speaking up about the safety issues that women and children are facing. So we need more people doing this and more support. Don't just leave it to the few. This has to be the voice of the many to make the change. So well done, ladies. Keep up the good work. So it's not just in Devon this battle's going on. A gentleman named Robbie came in and expressed his concerns to full council in Colchester recently. And the reaction from one of the councillors called his speech vile and transphobic. Do you want to guess which councillor that was? Yes, the pothole squatmaster himself, Lee Scordis.
A man so dedicated he will even squat when there isn't a pothole in sight.
Here's why the Progress Pride flag is a symbol of a dangerous ideology, for those of you who don't know. It symbolises that the message to children that they can be born in the wrong body. It symbolises the idea that people can change sex. It basically abolishes same-sex spaces, symbolises the destruction of women's sports and gay and lesbian social networks. It's harmful. And ordinary people, the more they learn about gender ideology, the more they learn about what's being done with children, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, mutilating surgery, sterilisation, the whole lot, the less they like it.
Well, nothing we're doing, in my view, is creating a harm. Gender identity challenge is a real issue. There is a continuing debate, I acknowledge. I would finish by saying I think the most important, where there is passion and division, is that we approach it in a calm fashion that narrows the difference and increases the understanding, and that can't be here. But thank you for coming and sharing your view.
I think it's good that you're saying there should be a discussion. Part of the problem is that the culture that we live in, the cancel culture that we live in, does not allow that kind of discussion out there in the world of the Green Party, the Labour Party, Rosie Duffin, remember, the Lib Dems. So I'm all in favour of having that discussion, and like I say, if you don't have that discussion in a decent way, then you are going to be driving people into the arms of the populists, the far right, the Reform UK kind of people, because it's basically only the Tories and the Reform UKs that are really standing up for things like men can't turn into women.
Right, shall we have a lighter subject now and go back to dear Fairlight and see if they have resolved their issues with those screens?
It does not say that councillors have to be filmed. And the 1998 Data Protection Act overrules that. Well, I don't know. What's the problem?
That's been overruled by the 2014 Act. What a farce.
This is showing you up for exactly what you want.
No, it's not. It is protecting the safety and security.
Okay, I'm leaving.
So the screens can come down.
Anybody else?
Why not?
Because the screens are there to protect the safety and security of some councillors.
Some councillors have been on YouTube all weekend.
I'm not arguing with you.
No, you've got no argument.
I have.
You haven't. You haven't. Law, we're working with the law. You're not. You're not.
I am working with the law.
You're not. You're not.
I have
Well, show me. Give me evidence. So please, give me evidence. I want to see it black and white.
I have.
We've had 2 judges, police, everything looking into this. You are actually breaking the law now. If the councillors don't want to be filmed...
Resign.
Yeah, resign. Okay. Fine, I'll resign.
Great. Anyone else?
Your those screens are coming down.
No, they're not.
I beg your pardon.
Those screens can go.
No worries. If you want to sit there and break the law, then that's fine. You'll be answerable to the law.
Okay, I'll break the law.
So you're happy to do
I'm
that?
breaking the law, you prove
No,
it.
we know you're breaking the law. You know you're breaking the law.
No, I'm not.
So, fair play so far to the parishioners of Fairlight, wherever the hell that is. We'll come back, because this saga goes on for quite some time. I'm sure you're all chomping at the bit to know how Karina's been getting on with the 5G fiasco. Yes, that one just will not flush, will it? Anyway, she finally got a response from dear Mr. Weavers, and he has finally acknowledged that yes, she is right. They have accepted certificates with the wrong name on it, although they didn't quite word it like that. They found 7 such similar applications. As you'll be aware, this issue with 3UK Limited is not restricted to Colchester. Yes, we've been telling them that since day one, and has been highlighted nationally. In order to clarify the position, as this matter had been drawn to our attention, and in order that the council can satisfy itself that there was no fraudulent intentions in the making of the applications or declaration of conformity, we contacted the agent who submitted the planning applications on behalf of CK Hutchinson. And apparently, it was an innocent error. Well, we obtained evidence that that innocent error kept happening after the innocent error. I'll let Karina tell you all about that when she does an email on the inevitable follow-up to her follow-up emails. Hurrah the smallest of small successes. I can confirm, however, that the council will not process any applications where the applicant, operator or ICNIRP declarations are not from active companies. Da, da, da. Oh, get the sparkling water out and celebrate. And finally, with regards to the health aspects, I could not see safe used. No, neither could we. Although UK HSA, for example, have said that the overall exposure is expected to remain low relative to guidelines, and as such there should, yes we know, should be no consequences for public health. They do not use that shorthand. Safe. Shorthand? Oh, I'll let Karina deal with that. I'm retiring. In these circumstances, we will be seeking further advice in the views of such organisations, with a view to a public statement that will clarify and, if needed, correct the public record. Yes, we're still waiting on that one. Don't worry, Karina has responded. Now, a lot of you have been asking about the car parking situation in Sudbury. Basically, the long and the short of it is nothing happened. If the Ombudsman did respond to the lady that wrote to them, she did not receive that letter. And then by the time she chased up and found it, the people at the help desk said they didn't have that file on record anymore. So presumably it was a case open and a case closed. So there's nothing more we could do, basically. So really, it should have been pursued much earlier, but everybody was just too busy to do it. So, but I don't think, in all honesty, it would have made much difference, because without the Ombudsman's agreement, then there couldn't have been a judicial review. And although the gentleman agreed on the phone, when it came down to it, surprise, surprise, not on the side of the people. Shocker. I know. There's all been all sorts of goings on, courtesy of Matthew Randolph in Gloucester. Now that saga is just getting ridiculous. So far, he's been banned from the council, the police station and court. Not because he's done anything wrong, far from it. He's been able to prove he's doing everything right. So their knee-jerk reaction just seems to be to ban him from the building. So one of these days we will sit down and interview him to find out exactly what he's been up to. The authorities just cannot deal with him because he knows the law and he knows when they're breaking it. And I think he's suing nearly everybody there. So it's turning into quite a saga. Just shows what you can do when you know your stuff. Now, the people of Manchester,
they need your help stopping the council allowing planning to go ahead for an inappropriate development. I'll put the details of the fundraiser in the video description below.
Let's quickly pop back to Fairlight.
In addition to all the security matters that have been talked about, I believe that the Act was not designed to promote filming from people with ulterior motives. In this case, the person's demanded to film
No!
verbally.
You have moved!
I want this on camera.
You have moved.
Bad luck.
Carry on, David, please.
In this case, the person demanding to film has been verbally attacking the parish council for a period of time and has on several occasions demanded the resignation of both the chair and vice chair of the parish council. He and his wife have also indicated that one of the reasons they want to film is for body language, hands raised, etc. In all of these circumstances, it is fair to assume that one of the purposes of filming is to ridicule the council and the council members. This, in my view, is a strong reason for not filming in accordance with the Act, but following in accordance with the council's existing policy.
Well, the good news is, after all this debacle, 6 of the council resigned, which I think was most of them. So they have completely replaced the council. And I hope all is going well now in Fairlight. And that is what we're going to have to do up and down this country. Replace them, because they're not listening.
And finally, and frankly a shocking turn of events, Councillor King actually had to retract something that he'd got wrong. This was due to a comment he made after Lance Peatling from the Peacekeepers had his say.
Councillor King, or shall we note what has been said and move on?
As it was a private conversation, now alluded to in public.
Lance was rather put out that Councillor King made it sound like he'd broken a confidence and that the meeting was private. So he wrote to Councillor King demanding that he retract this, and they had quite a long discussion which Lance has put on his Substack, so you can read all through that. But anyway, the long and the short of it, possibly with some thanks to the threat of libel action, got the shortest of short retractions. Don't blink or you might miss it.
I have your say section. I complained with a member of the public, Mr. Peterson, at breached confidence. I said that this was not the case, and I'm using the opportunity. Thank you.
Now, apologies to those of you who have emailed us. I'm afraid setting up an email account was not one of our brightest ideas. We're getting sent so much information, it's just too much to wade through. So I'm sorry, we're just not able to respond to people. It's just too much work and nobody has the time available, I'm afraid.
So thank you so much to all of those of you who are donating on a monthly basis to keep the Council Watch channel going. We've got about half the amount we need to employ someone on a regular basis, so please keep those donations coming. We really do need those monthly subscriptions so that we can keep the channel going properly. Now, videos are being made as I speak, and the first one hopefully will be out in the new year. Now, underneath this video in the description are links where you can set up a monthly payment or a one-off donation if you prefer. So I'm spending my time getting my business back on track. Even with an automated business, you can't just take 2 years out of it and expect it not to suffer. That's been my lesson, so I must never do that again. But what will I be doing after that? Well, my next project is to start working on some ideas on solutions, because as much as it's important to shine a spotlight on what's going on in these councils, I think we need some big picture solutions. So that's my next project. And I've also started up a new YouTube channel. So do sign up to the new channel if you'd like to see what I'm working on next, because I will put my announcements there. So on Twitter and YouTube, I can be found at Rachel Matthews, UK, and Rachel spelled R-A-C-H-E-L, and Matthews with just the one T. I've also started a new website that will be up in the new year, rachelmatthews.uk. So do please give support to my replacements, which will be Karina, Cheryl and Sharon. Now, they don't have 15 years video experience under their belt, so give them time to find their feet. I'm sure they will in due course. And please support them. And please keep going along and watching the councils and reporting on it. We need to shine a light on it so everybody sees just how bad it is. And hopefully that will inspire more people to come along and run themselves. But in a different way. We can't keep doing the same old, because politics is letting us down badly. So that is one of the things I want to be writing about, giving us alternative options of how we could do things for the future. Now, I'm sure this won't be my final Council Watch video, because I have promised a few people months ago I would do some interviews. So in the new year, I'm sure I'll pop up every now and again on this channel as well. So any money that you send using the links in the description below this video, that will go towards the new editor. But if you'd like to support me directly, you can go use the bit.ly link, bit.ly/muzadventures. And there you can get a copy of my book. It's a pay what you want, or it can be free if you like. Watch the video on the page and it'll explain exactly what it's about. So until next time we meet, do take very good care of yourself. Lots of love.